Hello everyone, I'm really glad that you came here to my, I would say workshop, but I think it will be more of a lecture followed by discussion. I would like to know about the situation in your countries, about your ideas, how to solve the problem, and so on. So first of all, I will just shortly introduce myself. I'm a spokeswoman and fundraiser for the coalition against palm oil in Czech Republic, Koalice proti palmovému oleji in Czech. And I used to work or volunteer for Greenpeace as well, palm oil campaign. And I studied ecology, and I love to travel to tropical countries. I'm not sure what countries you are from. Could you please just quickly tell me your name and the country you're from? And I will ask you during the lecture some questions, and then you will have space to tell me more or tell us more, but just shortly, please. Thanks. Great, thank you very much. You will know why I wanted to know what country you are from later, because we will talk about some international cooperation on palm oil as well. But first of all, you have come because you want to learn something about palm oil, or because you already know but you want to know more, or what is the reason? Have all of you already heard about the palm oil issue? Yeah, okay, great. But I will tell you some general things too, and I will talk about environmental impacts. I will tell you maybe something that usually people don't know, you will see. Well, so what is the origin of oil palm? The oil palm comes from Western or Central Africa, where it's been produced or grown for more than 2,000 years, and there in those countries, the oil palm or the palm oil is produced in a really local way. You know, it's produced manually, and everything is okay. It has no environmental impacts if it's produced like this. But the reality now in the world is somewhat different. The oil palm is nowadays grown all over the tropical zone. Between 10 degrees of latitude north and south, because these are areas with a lot of high temperature and a lot of precipitation. And these are conditions that the oil palm likes. But just to go back, these, you can see the green color. This is the area where also the tropical rainforests are. So that's the problem. Well, here you can see what are the main palm oil producing countries in the world. The main part is taken by Indonesia and then Malaysia. These two countries produce about 85% of the global palm oil. And it's followed by Thailand and Nigeria, Colombia in South America. However, this is the other side of the situation. These are the palm oil importing countries. Nowadays, the European Union is the second biggest importer of palm oil in the world. It follows India and is followed by China. So this is one of the arguments why we should be aware of the situation of the issue and why we should solve it, because it's not a problem that is far away from us. We are part of the problem, Here you can see that the palm oil, this is demand for the most of or the main vegetable oils in the world. The light blue is palm oil, and you can see that the demand or the consumption in the world is still increasing. It's estimated that by 2030, the demand should double, and it should triple by 2050. And so here might be question why the world likes palm oil so much. That's because it's very cheap. And this is because, you know, it's produced in the third world countries. It's where people work for really low money, and very good physical and chemical properties that allow, for example, producer of biscuits to use it. It you know, holds the shape in these products. And one oil palm can produce 2 or 3 types of palm oil. It's palm oil and palm kernel oil. It's that's the oil derived from the kernel of fruits. As you can see, these are the fruits of oil palm. Then we also have palm. Hi, come in. Hello. The third product is palm expellers. This is the rest of the kernels after the palm kernel oil is derived. And these expellers are used as a feed for livestock animals. Hello, newcomers. Just tell me what country you're from?
Malta.
Okay, great, thank you. We will talk about the countries later. Yeah, you will see. And just tell me, have you ever heard about the palm oil issue?
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks. So, where to find palm oil? That's kind of easy question because you can find it almost everywhere. It's used in, let's say, more than 1/2 of packaged goods in supermarkets. You can find it in all junk food, let's say, you know, all chocolates, biscuits, creams, margarines, ice creams, and whatever. Then it's also all these detergents and household things that you use. It's in cosmetics, in lipsticks, shampoos, everywhere. But what less people know is that it's also used in candles. So normal cheap candles you buy in some big stores are usually made of palm oil as well. Then it's also used in pills, in medicine. And then, I don't know if you know, it's also in the feed for your pets, for dogs and cats. Also in the feed for parrots and some exotic animals. And as I've already mentioned, the expellers are used for livestock. Well, and then there are biofuels. Have you heard that the palm oil is also used for biofuels, or is it something new for you? I will talk about it later. Yeah, here are some chemical names that palm oil can be labeled in the product. However, since the December of 2014, the palm oil must be specified in packaged goods in food. You know, I don't know. It's valid for the whole European Union. So till that time, it was very often and common that you just could find only vegetable oil, yeah, and no one could say the problem is palm oil. Since that time, you should already know when you buy anything in the stores. However, the problem still remains in cosmetics, because all these names are the names that can imply that the palm oil was used to make the cosmetic, fortunately.
Why so many names?
Because there are so many derivatives, chemical derivatives used from... it's not like you would put palm oil into soap. It's really chemical substances that are derived from palm oil through some... So that's why there are so many. Well, here you can see this is quite an old graph or graphs. But unfortunately, it's not that easy to find some actual graphs regarding palm oil consumption and use in the European Union, because there might be some, stakeholders that don't want us to know. But here you could see that in 2006, more than 80% of palm oil in the European Union was used for food, and only, well, 9% for biodiesel, yeah, that's biofuel, that you might use in your cars. But 6 years later, the use for biofuels were almost one third. Today, about 1/2 of palm oil in the European Union is used in biofuel, and only 1/2 approximately is used for food. However, this is very important. Still, in the whole world, 3/4 of global palm oil production is still used for food, and only about one third, not even 1/3, for biofuels. Because at least in the Czech Republic, some people say, well, don't deal with palm oil in food. It's not important. The real issue is palm oil used in biofuels. But we must take into account that still the whole world uses most of palm oil in food. However, it's true that palm oil in biofuels is very, very bad and very urgent issue. Yeah, that's why you can see why. Here is like a graphic amount of CO2 or greenhouse gas emissions produced by burning fossil fuels. And here you can see how much emissions is produced while burning biofuels made from rapeseed, how much from biofuels made from soy, and here you can see that the 3 times more emissions are produced when you burn biofuels made from palm oil compared to simple fossil fuels. So that's the issue why biofuels, especially biofuels made from palm oil, are really a stupid idea. I'm sorry. Okay, so this is the most striking and maybe like most famous impact of palm oil production in the tropical region. That's forest loss. Here you can see the Borneo Island. You might know most of the island belongs to Indonesia, a smaller part belongs to Malaysia, and a small part belongs to Brunei. And you can see the loss of the forest between 1950 and 2020. Unfortunately, the loss of forest in Indonesia is still increasing, even though there were some moratoriums on deforestation. No, it's not working. Here you can see how much forest cover has been lost since 1990. In this province, in Riau, where the situation is the worst and the most of the land is covered by palm oil plantations, the forest cover is has really decreased severely since 1990. And the reason is both legal and illegal deforestation for palm oil plantations. It's estimated that about 1/2 of all the deforestation is illegal in Indonesia. And the reason is that, Indonesia is a very corrupt country, and there's corruption on almost every level of bureaucracy or administration, and it's very difficult to make any changes in Indonesia. Yeah, here you can see an article from Mongabay that says that Indonesia was recognized in Guinness Book of Records for the deforestation rate that was even higher than in Amazon. Well, here you can see a palm oil plantation. The first side, it's green. It kind of looks like forest, but it's not a forest in any way. This is just a monoculture of one species. Oh, well, there are maybe a little bit more species because there's some grass, there are some mosses, but mainly it's just oil palm. Here you can see how it can look when the deforestation is done, but not completely. this is how it looks when the deforestation is done completely in an area. You can see one oil palm next to the other. And from my own experience, this is the picture that you can see when you travel on Sumatra, and this is the picture that you can see for hours when you go by bus, for example. You just fall asleep and you wake after a few hours and you still see the same picture, stretching even over the horizon. Yeah, this is just a picture that shows you a factory for processing of palm oil, and it's all surrounded by palm oil plantation. This is just for your picture how it's done. Usually the companies cut the forest in some area. Then if it's on a peatland, which is quite a usual type of land in Indonesia, it's drained, to get a dry land. Then the rest of wood is burned, and this is how it looks when the land is planted by oil palm. So, and now the consequences of the forest loss. These are quite complex. The first, and the most visible, or how to say it, is forest fires. I don't know if any one of you have noticed huge fires that place in Indonesia at the end of 2014. Have you noticed? Because there was news that appeared in the whole world. Yeah, unfortunately, it appeared in the news just maybe a few weeks after the fires appeared. And this was the situation when, for example, the Czech public acknowledged that there is a problem with some palm oil, because till that time almost no one know about the problem. Maybe some biologists, some ecologists, and some conservationists know that there is a problem, but till the end of 2014, beginning of 2015, I think that most of the Czech general public knew about a problem. Also from my own experience, during 1 or 2 months in this period, we in the Czech Coalition Against Palm Oil had about 20-25 interviews in news, in TV, in the radio, and really everyone knew about the problem. So everything bad is good for something to say, because that was the moment when the campaign against palm oil in Czech Republic really started. Well, the fires are quite common in Indonesia. They are there every year, and that's because the land in Indonesia is destroyed by palm oil companies and other companies that drain the land, and they replace the forest, and the land is really it's easy for the fires to appear in Indonesia because the land is so destroyed. So these fires cover Indonesia every year, and it's been like 20 years now, I think. Yeah, and it's much more severe if these fires happen on the peatlands, because as you might know, peatlands hold a lot of carbon dioxide, carbon, and when it's burned, the carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases are released into the atmosphere, and that's the reason why the fires in 2014 were said to be a real ecological catastrophe. And during that time, Indonesia was the world's worst emitter of greenhouse gases, more than America, for example. During 1 or 2 months, it produced as much carbon dioxide as the whole Germany, for example, for the whole year. So this was really, really bad situation. Here you can see the map of fires during the end of 2014. And these are the areas where most palm oil plantations stand, you know. Yeah, that's a good question. Sometimes they really just happen. You know, you can see it also here when it's really dry weather. Sometimes the fire just appears. But yeah, the reason for so many fires in Indonesia was also that the farmers, both small farmers and the companies, set up the fires to clean the land for the plantations. So,
but then they spread.
Yeah, they spread so easily because the dry peat under the ground is really flammable, and these fires can remain under the land, under the ground for months, and just wait for really dry weather to spread again. So this is really bad because it's almost impossible to how to say it, you know. Yeah.
So what about plantation?
Yeah, also.
Spreads to plantations also, yeah.
And that was the reason why that time the palm oil production in Indonesia decreased, and that's why the palm oil price increased and blah blah blah. It really showed the whole global market. Also, but you know, the loss was worse in the forest. Well, not for the company, but in general. Yeah, that's what I said. These are CO2 emissions. And also, because there are such huge plantations, a lot of chemicals are used for pesticides, herbicides, and also as you know, urea that is used to enrich the land. And the land is consequently really intoxicated by these chemicals, and also the water, both in the rivers and underground water. So this degradation causes also health problems to the local people, and unfortunately these changes are mostly irreversible. Yes, and the forest loss disrupt ecosystem services. Have you ever heard about ecosystem services? You know what it is? These are services that nature can provide people for free. Yeah, that's thanks to the forest, or thanks to the mangroves, or thanks to the wetlands, we have clean water, and that we have oxygen and clean air thanks to the forest, and so on. It's everything that the nature provides us, and we have it for free. If we had to lose it, then we would have to make it and pay a lot of money for it. Yeah, example with the clean water and clean and healthy food and so on. It is also that the forest and healthy soil can minimize floods and soil erosion and so on. Yeah, and also, as in Indonesia, there are about 50 million people living near the rainforest or at the forest. They really suffer, and why about 5,000 human rights conflicts are in Indonesia. Sometimes it ends with the death of someone. Well, and that's what's caused to the animal after the forest is lost. It's biodiversity loss, and as I showed you, when I showed you the picture of the oil palm plantation, and I said it's just one species, almost one species of plant, just imagine that there was a really rich rainforest with hundreds or maybe thousands of species, and now there's only one species of a plant and just a few species of animals. And that's also from my own experience. When you are at the plantation, there's almost nothing, not even a bird, maybe just some insects, but really simply nothing. And that's why the oil palm plantations are sometimes called green deserts. It's green, but it's empty of life. And when the rainforest is cut, about 80% of the species are lost. These are just examples of animals that are threatened by forest loss in Indonesia. As you can see, there's elephant, tiger, rhino, and orangutan. These are animals that live only in Sumatra in the world. I mean, Sumatran species of these animals. Yeah, but orangutans are like a flagship of the whole palm oil issue. You might also know it's estimated at about between 1,000 to 5,000 of orangutans are killed on plantations every year. And when you take into account that, for example, Bornean orangutans are only 50,000 of them are left in the wild, so they have maximum 10 years before they get extinct. Okay, so now the solutions. Do you have any questions? You can ask whenever you want, you know.
I heard that palm oil is that true or?
Yeah, very long. It was not proven, but in a study that was published, I think 1 year ago or 2 years, yeah, it was proved that these chemically processed palm oil that is used for the most of the products that we eat, you know, all the biscuits and everything, it's not like crude oil, it's somehow processed oil. This can several times more carcinogenic impacts or than other oils. So yeah, that's true. Well, so what can be the solution for the whole issue? Well, some people say that we should boycott palm oil and we should, you know, erase it from the world and start using something else. Do you think it's a good idea? Unfortunately, replacing palm oil with some other one kind of oil would be even worse, I would say. Because that's also an argument that you can hear quite often in the Czech Republic or elsewhere, is that the palm oil has the biggest productivity from all oil plants. And, well, that's true. You can see here, this is like amount of palm oil gained for 1 hectare. It's a yield of oil palm. This is the yield of soybean. This is the yield of rapeseed. Yeah, so you can see that the yield from oil palm can be up to 10 times higher compared to soy, which is also quite a common oil produced in South America, where it also causes quite a lot of harm to the environment. But, well, this argument is not true, because it doesn't take into account that the oil palm plantations can last only up to 20 or 30 years, and then the land is so destroyed that it cannot sustain any other or any more plantations or any other kind of life. Yeah. So these plantations just become kind of desert or savanna where nothing can be grown. So yeah, it has a high yield, but in a short term. And for example, compared to the rapeseed, which, well, yeah, it also causes a lot of harm in our countries, but you have to take into account biodiversity in tropical areas in rainforest, and then the biodiversity here in temperate areas. It's incomparable. But the rapeseed can be grown for tens or even hundreds of years here. So in the long term, the yield from rapeseed is even higher, maybe, than the yield from oil palm. And this is a very important argument, which you might come across during your activities. I don't know, we will talk about it later. If you plan to somehow raise awareness about the palm oil issue, this is the argument that you might come across, well, almost for sure. So now you know how to argue against this argument. But yeah, replace also because of this that the yield is quite high even in a short term, replacing it with, for example, soy would not be a solution, at least not a good or sustainable solution. So we will get to the real solution later. The other solution that most of the world, or at least most of the companies, want is a certification. I don't know, have you ever heard about RSPO, Roundtable for Sustainable Palm? The most common international voluntary association that was established, for example, also by WWF and Unilever. But there have been some mistakes, or how to say it, negative aspects of this certification, because it's voluntary, and that means that even the members of this RSPO are not strictly prohibited cutting forests, or at least if they cut the forest till a short time ago, they didn't get punished for it. So this is not a good certification that would stop clearing the forest because of palm oil. But it's better than nothing. Yeah, it's so widely used in the world, and almost every company here, when you ask them about their palm oil, which they use in their products, when you ask them, they very often argue that they are getting their palm oil from someone who's a member of RSPO. But that's what we need to take into account, and what we need to think about or of, is that it's not perfect. And actually, the companies that have this certification can clear the forest as well. So, what are the real solutions? We in the Coalition Against Palm Oil, we promote 3 things. Or, well, there are 4, but in general these are 3. It's a reduction of oils and fats in general. So that we just decrease our consumption of junk food. You know, because when you think about it, palm oil is in the most really unhealthy and unnecessary packaged foods. You know, it's in biscuits, chocolates, all these ice creams, and And if we just stopped eating it, we would get healthier, we would get slimmer, we would get happier, and we would help decrease the demand for palm oil as well. So we promote reduction of oils and fats in general. Then, if we really want to eat something like that, we promote some better alternatives of palm oil. And from our point of view, it's the local oil. Yeah. So, for example, for Indonesians, there's maybe coconut oil as an alternative, but for them, palm oil is okay. It's a locally produced oil. But in Europe or in North America or in Asia, like more in the north, we have our own oil plants and our oils. We have rapeseed oil, sunflower oil, olive oil, and some other, all these like smaller, less common kinds of oil. But there are many. It's not just palm oil. So there's no reason why we shouldn't use them, and why we should import palm oil from the other side of the world. So that's it. And preferably it should be produced in an organic way to be, really perfect. Because as I said before, for example, rapeseed in the Czech Republic is a hot topic. Well, the most of agricultural land here is covered by rapeseed, and rapeseed is destroying our environment and our land too, but much less than compared with palm oil. And the third thing is that if the alternatives... I didn't finish the alternatives. Then there are some better alternatives. You might already heard about shea butter. I don't know how to say shea. And this is a kind of fat or oil that is derived from fruits of huge trees that grow in Sahel, Africa, sub-Saharan Africa, in semi-desert area where there are problems of desert expansion. And these fruits are picked picked by local women. And even if the demand for shea butter would increase, they would just have more trees in these areas, and it would be preferable to stop expansion of deserts. So we see shea butter as a really good alternative to palm oil. Then it might be cocoa butter, but also in organic and fair trade mode, or coconut oil, because even though it's also from palm, the coconut oil has much less environmental impacts compared to oil palm. So the coconut oil might be better. Well, and then we should communicate with companies that use palm oil and to tell them what to do, and we should have strict certification. We in the Czech Coalition Against Palm Oil, we think that the best certification would be bio or organic and controlled by the European Union, because these plantations might be quite responsibly. So this might be a good way to solve this issue. However, I'm still talking about the Coalition Against Palm Oil, but that one is just Czech. But last year, the 1st February of 2017, we have officially established Palm Oil Watch International, which is an international platform of organizations and individuals and just zoos and other institutions that want to cooperate to decrease unnecessary consumption of palm oil, for palm oil. And so far we have more than 15 countries as our members. There are some people or organizations also from Ghana or Nepal, Canada, Australia, and other countries. And that's the moment where I would like to appeal on you that if you want to become a member, we would love it, because to combat this palm oil issue, we need to cooperate on an international scale level. And we need more and more people and more institutions to cooperate and to put the companies under pressure and to communicate with politicians in the European Parliament and so on. So, if you are interested, you can just visit www.palmoilwatch.net, and then you can read some information about palm oil issue in general, or you can become a member and so on, and we can start the cooperation. Well, we have found out that we might be, in the Czech Republic, we might have not best, but how to say it, like widest palm oil campaign in the world. Yeah, Australians do something against palm oil, and in Western Europe there are some initiatives against palm oil, or, well, not against all palm oil, but I mean against the irresponsibly made palm oil. But in the Czech Republic we have raised the awareness about palm oil quite a lot, partly thanks to the fires in Indonesia at the end of 2014. So yeah, and we would like to cooperate with you. That's what I said. It's some of our members, and this is how we work. We have several working groups. Each group has its own coordinator, and then we have our national coordinator. And now there's also Palm Oil Watch Slovakia, Palm Oil Watch Poland, and we are trying to spread this form of cooperation and this coalition in the Europe and in the whole world. So if you are interested, we would love to cooperate also with you. You will find some information there. For example, 5 most common misjudgments, because when you start doing something against palm oil, there might be people or institutions that will argue or fight against you, and you have to have a good arguments. Yeah, that's just for your information. That's a kind of old leaflet which we made. These are products sold in Czech Republic which have palm oil, and these are the alternative without palm oil. That's what we have. We have on our website, on the Czech Coalition, we have a gallery of products with or without palm oil, and people can just choose their favorite kind of product and see which one is with palm oil and which one is without palm oil. And this tool was very successful in the Czech Republic for a few years ago, and yeah, it still is, I think. Yeah, it's just we have traveling photo gallery. These photos were taken in Sumatra in Indonesia. It's about impacts of palm oil industry on local people. We've also created some educational programs for children. Yeah, and that's what could interest you. Maybe you've already heard about the 1st February as an International Palm Oil Free Day. Well, the first year was last year, and this year would be the second year of this day. Even last year, states like Portugal, Indonesia, or Australia, I think it was also Belgium, France, and other states did a palm oil free day too. They joined our initiative. So it would be great if you also could at least spread some info about this and raise awareness that something like a palm oil free day exists. We have materials in English. We have also a webpage in French and Polish and also in Turkish. But we are still working on some other translations. And that's what's new in the Czech anti-palm oil campaign. We have a new mobile application. It's called Palm Oil Scanner, and that's an application that can help you to recognize what product is with palm oil and what product is without palm oil. And it's been really huge news in our media too. And this is the end of my lecture, or my speech, and I would like to tell you a hot news that's really positive, because as I told you about the biofuels and the palm oil and biofuels, a few days ago European Parliament decided to stop palm oil in biofuels in European Union starting in 2021. So this could mean a huge decrease in use of palm oil in European Union, and that's wonderful. And I think that also our pressure on companies has caused this success. Well, yeah, thank you for your attention, and I have some questions for you. But you don't need to stick these questions. We can just talk about your experience with awareness of about palm oil in your country, about media awareness. Maybe you've already done something to raise awareness in schools or so. So I would be really glad if you could tell me about the situation in your country, or if you have any questions or whatever. I would love to answer. So I don't know if you want to start someone, or will we go like this, whatever. Excuse me?
You could choose your favorite.
No. Oh, okay, so does any one of you...
I can start.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, before we started this project, I think there was no awareness about the palm oil issue. In fact, when we go to schools and start talking about it, they are engaged because it's new, so and people want to learn more about it. How to engage children, I think, through interactive workshops and also the orangutan as a flagship. I think that really attracts the children's attention. So that was really a good idea. I know Mary Rose did something with palm oil, maybe
awareness. Nobody really knew, even us. Just been maybe this year since we're involved.
Excuse me, who involved?
Involved in the Weed Responsibly project. That's how. Just a few months before we got to be aware, and it was through social media. But at the school we did a survey. 450 students were aware. I mean, you say palm oil, where does it come from? It comes from the palm. No? They weren't aware about the issue.
And so after the end of 2014, you haven't noticed anything in your media? Like there are huge fires in Indonesia, forests are burning, orangutans dying.
We had our fires, so we had our fires, so they have the immediate problems. Yeah, that's why.
That's bad. I agree. Yeah. So, for example, can any one of you tell that the awareness about palm oil appeared, for example, in 2015 already, or is it really a new thing? New issue?
New, because you have no information about palm oil in generally quite problematic. The labels on products, the names of the compounds that derive from palm oil. You don't see in most of them, even if you read the labels, you don't have to be. Our example, how it started, because we had the first production through this project. I was like, okay, trying to find palm oil in any shop, couldn't find anything, just as a byproduct, as a good thing, So, but when you get into this and to learn to read labels, and you see that almost 50% of all products in supermarkets has palm oil, and that's the way how we go to read something, and then you will see. When you come to them and try to explain, say, okay, you know that 50% have palm oil, when they learn to read it, and that's how they got interested. Yeah, you are lying, like you were saying. When they try to explain it, find a way, they really see that it's true, then they try to write it down. But yeah, it's
I thought that there's at least a small.
Also, maybe it might be new because there is a link which might not be that clear to everyone. I mean, there would be fires, yes, but people have to make the connection that there is an environmental impact to the palm oil. It's not just fires, emissions. So, and I think there weren't enough people maybe to help the public or the schools or the teachers to make that connection. Once that started, then the teachers themselves kind of started in their own schools, and it's like a wave which started spreading. Kind of.
From our own experience, I think that the children are really important because they can change the mind of even really stubborn parents or grandparents. I've met a lot of people or a lot of families that they were, when I asked them about palm oil, they said, oh, come on, I hear about palm oil every day from this little terrorist. We cannot have anything at home that contains palm oil, and we cannot eat anything. We only eat potatoes and carrot because, this little daughter always tells us, no, orangutans die and everything. So even really old people, for example, that wouldn't even care and wouldn't even know about this, they really cared and changed their behavior and tell with other people about the issue. So this could be a chance for your countries to know something more about this issue. That you
oil that was used in the industry, like in commonly used. They didn't use it, Why? Because we have a big power oil, and those companies are connected into it, and they didn't have the technology for years because it's the old technology to use. Now, when the market is open and all goods from the world, now you can see it more. Before that, you can.
Well, but I'm sorry. Can I just remember? Yeah, there was a problem because before palm oil appeared, the producers or the companies used rapeseed oil or sunflower oil. Yeah, but they chemically altered it, and trans fatty acids were the problem because the medical studies proved that these trans fatty acids are really a problem.
But that's another question. That's not palm oil question.
Yeah, but that's the reason why the palm oil appeared, because it was like a healthier alternative. And now all these companies changed their technologies, and now it's very hard to change it again. But in Czech Republic, due to this public campaign and public awareness, and that people want the producers, the companies to produce the things without palm oil, they change their behavior again. During our campaign, there are about 40 companies in the Czech Republic, usually like medium and small companies, that switched from palm oil to other alternatives. So, and now they use no palm oil, palm oil free, as their positive marketing. And that's a good.
Yeah, but if they go back to the old ways, it's always bad again. So you have to translate. That's always bad also.
So what's the real alternative? Yeah. Because I don't see the real alternative. It didn't really convince me with real solutions, because if you switch to another fat, it's again we need fields to produce another crops which contains fat. So we need fat.
The fat will be there. If we want to eat fatty things and unhealthy things and junk food, we need the fat. But if we want to save our health, which palm oil is destroying, it's much better to switch to sunflower oil. But the solution is not to go back to sunflower and rapeseed oil and produce trans fatty acids again. We need to use new technologies that will use rapeseed and sunflower and other local oils, but without producing these trans fatty acids that are really bad for our health. And these technologies already exist. And so that's it. Or we can use some combination of sunflower oil and, for example, coconut oil, which are much better for the environment.
You need so much field to
produce sunflowers. Lower the number of
but
that's the only solution.
But on the other hand, we have a lot of agricultural land. We have even more agricultural land than we actually need, at least in the Czech Republic, but I think it's in the Europe as general, and that's the reason why we can afford to produce a rapeseed for biofuels, for example, for industry. And we should stop this, and we should produce oils again just for our needs, like for consumption. And if we care about the environmental impacts, and also about the climate and everything, because palm oil, because of the fires and everything, because of the forest clearance, it destroys our climate, and that's what's everyone's business, even here. So, for example, the rapeseed, the sunflower, and other alternatives are much better than palm oil. Yeah, it's not perfect, but we need to search for better.
I was in Brazil 25 years ago. There was a big issue with sugarcane.
Yes, it's also a problem.
Yes, okay, and it was really a big issue. They said that they will destroy, all Amazon forest because of for sugar and also for alcohol, for fuel. It's another story now with palm oil, and after 10 years will be another one. So, I mean, it's not just circulating, but we are destroying. The fact is that we are destroying with one or another crop. So.
Yeah, so we just need to search for better alternatives and try to do our best, you know.
At school we also had a survey regarding people's eating habits, how they choose what food they should eat. And it was found that less than 10% of the people surveyed choose their food according to whether it contains palm or not. So much more awareness needs to be raised about it, because many people don't even know about the harm.
Yeah.
Awareness and how you raise it, because I read all these articles in the last year or so about palm oil being carcinogenic, they're being sued. But then when you said in the news, they don't say, look, the fire is because of palm oil. That's because the stakeholders are the same people who maybe own the news company. So I think it's a shift to educate people to make these connections rather than just write articles and say palm oil is bad.
Of course, yeah, sure. And especially in Indonesia, as I said, it's a really corrupt country. It's one of the most corrupt countries in the world. And the people that sit in the government are usually also the stakeholders of the palm oil companies, and they are brothers or husbands, or they interconnected with other people from media and from. It's so difficult to make change there. And for example, the biofuels ban, as I said at the end, after this ban was published in media, Malaysian and Indonesian companies and the lobby from these countries said that they will do their best just to change the mind of European Parliament, and they will boycott everything and just do the lobby things and just to change it. And they are quite powerful. And we have to raise awareness, anything it takes. And you said about the survey. After these fires and after our campaign at the beginning of 2015, according to Czech radio, every third Czech knows about palm oil and wants to, choose products without palm oil, which is quite cool, because before there wasn't such an awareness. But these fires in Indonesia and all the media attendance that appeared, it produced such awareness in general public. So these are the moments where it can take just not so much effort to spread the awareness and start making change. So, and I think that as teachers, you have a really huge power to change it. So it would be great if you could somehow, the question is, have you already made any or taught any educational program, anything about palm oil, or
awareness campaign at school? The thing about the orangutangs.
Well, and have you heard or have you seen a Czech short documentary about palm oil? It's called Green Desert. And it was filmed by my friend when he was 25 or 26, just a student of biology, and he was in Borneo and filmed a documentary. And that was one of the most powerful tools that helped spread awareness in the Czech Republic. And now the film is with English subtitles, I think. So I'm not sure that this version in English is available for free on greendesert.org, but I think so. So if you're interested, you can try to search for it and download it. And this is a huge, perfect tool. It can be, shown to the children, and they can have really nice picture about the situation around palm oil.
Green Desert and the other.
Which other?
I mean, when you, I'm just connecting like that. The big deforestation before and actual now because of growing cattle, so you have to cut down trees, whatever, and still Green Desert.
Right.
The same, right? And I'm just asking, do you have any connection? Another group that is fighting against that. have a connection, we would have a greater, stronger lobby to fight against deforestation, because it's behind all this. This is the
we don't know about. I think we don't know about any other coalition like us that would focus on cattle in Amazon. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
it would be that would be
there
great.
Are organizations that fight deforestation because of that reason, because the outcome from
well, Greenpeace is campaigning against cattle, and so and they have achieved quite a lot of successes. But no, we are not like closely connected. We wanted to have a member from that is focusing on Amazon, but I'm not sure it's focusing on these cattle things. But yeah, we are quite a wide platform of many organizations. I also cooperate on the the Kukang Rescue Program that is seeking to conserve slow lorises in Sumatra and Indonesia. And among our members is also a Save Elephants organization that is trying to stop illegal trade in elephants in Africa. And there are many projects and many organizations under the coalition or Palm Oil Watch International. Yeah, it would be great if you could also join, because it's not necessary for you to be an organization. You can just join as an individual, as a teacher. And would really appreciate, because only through cooperation we can do big things. And we also have a lot of materials, and we have a lot of experience, so we can help you with it. Yeah. So do you have any questions? Any more questions?
Just a comment what we did. At school we don't have a canteen, just have the group we offered alternatives and margarine. What was being offered. And that's going to change eating habits.
Perfect.
Yes, very much.
Yeah, and the perfect thing would be if you just stick an orangutan on that vending machine and put a note there that it contains palm oil that is killing orangutans in Indonesia, and that would be quite a lot, to raise awareness, and the people would say, oh, what's with the orangutans? And they would search for the information on the internet, and just little things, but it helps.
This presentation will be available, because I think some very good.
Well, if you like, it's my presentation, but I can give it to you. I will just need to maybe add some authors or some photos, but
and credits and maybe some logos. But I think
if you like,
I would definitely like to show it. Even the photos are really, they would grab someone's attention.
Thank you. Well, if you visit the palmoilwatch.net and search for more info or about palm oil, I don't know, there are a lot of materials in English that you can use. There might be also some brochures, maybe even videos, or the videos might be only in the Czech version. But still, there are a lot of materials, like 50 most frequent questions or 12 most common misjudgments and so on. So, yeah, there's a lot of information. Thank you very much.